Hey guys, how you all doing today? It's Jordan here from Switchwatch, back again with yet another review of a point-and-click adventure game. This time it's called The Darkside Detective, and it's also more on the retro style, with pixelated graphics and a very cool soundtrack. It's very much a throwback to the old school style of adventure games. But is it worth your hard-earned cash? Well, let's find out. Point-and-click adventures can be glorious little nuggets of joy and wit, hence why they were so hugely popular more than 20 years ago on the PC. It's sad to see that the genre isn't what it once was, with new releases in the genre almost becoming an event. But there are a small bastion of independent developers trying to keep this beloved kind of game alive, as we've seen recently on the Switch with Thimbleweed Park, and only the other week with Her Majesty's Spiffing. Next up is The Darkside Detective from Spooky Doorway. This supernatural comedy-filled mini-adventure may be right up your alley if you like point-and-click games. The events of The Darkside Detective take place in a peculiar town of Twin Lakes. Yes, very much a reference to the cult TV show Twin Peaks. It immediately sets out which direction this game is going in. Fully referential. You are Detective Francis McQueen of the Darkside Division, a mysterious department within the Twin Lakes police force. Together, McQueen and his trusted sidekick Officer Dooley investigate paranormal activities around the town. There's no real overall story arc since the game is divided into mini digestible episodes, which involves a separate case to solve and a separate story. While this does make the game feel somewhat smaller scale, it does actually work for the best in this case. The 6 cases available are all very different and unique from each other. While none of them will push you past the hour mark, I think the short nature of each will make it feel like episodes of a TV show. Some may say that each episode is just a throwaway story, but when all 6 culminate into one package, it really is quite satisfactory. In one case you'll be investigating a haunted library, in another a mysterious lake monster. These quickfire stories don't outstay their welcome and in my opinion are perfectly paced. It allows the game to be much more varied in a shorter space of time, and if one particular case doesn't gel with you, then don't worry because something new will be on the way shortly. It's a comedy game at heart, full of pop culture references and fourth wall breakages. I don't think it's quite as funny as the most recent adventure game that I reviewed, Her Majesty's Spiffing, but it's still rather humorous even if there were no laugh out loud moments. They played on some jokes a little too often, particularly Officer Dooley's stupidity, but aside from that I spent the majority of my time playing through The Darkside Detective with a smile on my face. The audio in The Darkside Detective was created by Ben Prunty, a composer well regarded for his work on other games such as FTL. I must say that the music he has done for this release is really very awesome. It's very 80s with mysterious and menacing synths that build up a ton of atmosphere. It's very exceptional, and I think this game must be played with headphones to really soak it all in because it really adds to the atmosphere so much. A slight disappointment is the lack of voice acting. All of the dialogue is text only, which is okay, but I feel that professionally delivered lines by voice actors could have really taken it to the next level, especially with comedy where they can really add a lot to the overall performance with timing and delivery. It's a definite shame that it's not there. Visually, the game has gone for the classic pixelated adventure game look, similar to how Thimbleweed Park also followed the classics such as Monkey Island. It does look great, to be fair. Everything is really quite detailed and animated fantastically. The only problem I do have with it is the faces of the people. Everybody's face is completely blank, and I honestly don't like that. I think it takes away from potential personality. I know it's a stylistic choice that they've gone for, but I'm not a fan of that aspect. What I find most interesting about the visuals is just how small the environmental screens are. Each screen is really quite small in comparison to what point-and-click gamers will be used to. And the character sprites take up a huge part of the screen. I actually think this is a decent approach to the visuals since it does allow a lot of detail to be put into the environments, but I'm not sure I'd want this in every game. As far as performance goes, it was almost perfect throughout my playtime with the game, although there were one or two instances of slight stuttering which, while not ideal, were so few and far between and non-intrusive that it didn't hinder my enjoyment at all. You've got nothing to worry about here. As stated, the gameplay is spread out between different story episodes. Each episode is small and compact, and most won't stretch over the hour mark. In that regard, this is not the huge sprawling adventure game that you may think. When comparing it to other adventure games of similar nature, the Darkside Detective errs on the simpler side of things. For a start, you don't even move your character. In every screen, Detective McQueen and Officer Dooley are stationary in a set position. You use the analog sticks to move a rather sluggish mouse cursor around the screen and interact with items in the environment. Unlike many adventure games, there's no action wheel to choose, pick up, look at, or speak to, or anything like that. The game automatically does things for you, which is less interactive, but it's much more of a streamlined experience. It takes a bit of faff out of it. Every item that you pick up will be used within the episode you're playing, so there's no red herrings in the Darkside Detective, thankfully. You can combine items with each other and use them on other environmental things by dragging it down from the item bar at the top to the things that you want to use it with. I don't think the Darkside Detective is particularly difficult or taxing adventure game, although I did get stumped a couple of times. Both of these were down to items that I'd overlooked. Even though I knew what I had to do, I just couldn't find the right item to do it with, which was a little on the frustrating side. You just need to make sure that you check every nook and cranny as to not miss something. A lot of people complain that the point-and-click adventure genre is just full of illogical solutions to frivolous situations, and they do have a point. As first and foremost a comedic adventure game, there are a ton of puzzles that defy the laws of rationality, but do so in the best way, with comedic effect. So even though you may feel things end up slightly ridiculous when you put on a diving helmet in order to protect yourself from gas grenades, it doesn't matter because it's quite funny. It also should be noted that in handheld mode, you can use the Switch's touchscreen to interact with items, although I personally didn't enjoy this method of control because when you tap on something, it automatically interacts with the object. It doesn't actually highlight what it is first, which I found a little annoying. Coming in at $12.99 and £11.69, you'll be getting about 3 or 4 hours worth of likeable, engaging and well-made adventure. I think it's a fair price, although there is very little room for replayability, which may put many of you off. That comes with the territory of the genre though. It's the kind of game that you'd replay about 3 or 4 years later when you forgot many aspects of it. If I paid full price for the Darkside Detective, I think I would feel I'd gotten my money's worth out of it. In conclusion, if you're into point-and-click adventure games like Thimbleweed Park, TV shows like Twin Peaks or Stranger Things, film noir, slightly wacky humour, then there's no doubt in my mind that the Darkside Detective is perfect for you. With its mini episodic style structure, it's a good fit for the Switch, and the excellent soundtrack from Ben Prunty makes it an easy recommendation. Whether it's as funny as other games it's trying to emulate, I'm not so sure, and maybe the gameplay is a little too simple, but it's still enjoyable and nothing falls flat. I'd give the Darkside Detective a solid 7.5 out of 10. Okay guys, you know what to do. If you're a regular Switch watcher, then click that thumbs up button, that will always help us out. Leave a comment below. Did you pick up the Darkside Detective, or do you plan to do so in the future? What do you think of point-and-click adventure games? Do you like them? If you're new here, then why not consider subscribing for a wealth of Nintendo Switch reviews from the past, the present, and of course the future. And finally, why not head over to switchwatch.co.uk where you can find lots of news, reviews, and features that's well worth a daily look. I've been Jordan from Switchwatch, and I'll see you guys next time.